there's many reasons why people develop diseases and illnesses, and there's a common link between unmanaged stress in one's life as well as increases in inflammation that affects one's body from being able to function properly. So there's a common link between stress and inflammation usually. So you say, what is inflammation? Many of you probably think of inflammation as something that's bad, but it's actually a defense response in the body to an injury. It's a non-specific response that helps to localize a reaction. So this can be due to a burn, an infection, a cut, or even eating something that your body doesn't like. It's a local response that contains the injury and prevents it from spreading. This is advantageous in the short term, but when there's chronic inflammation and inflammation is sustained in the body, then this is when it becomes a problem. So when there's sustained irritation and injury, this could occur and lead to many different conditions like arthritis, respiratory disorders, digestive disorders, decreased energy, and very commonly skin conditions. Has anyone ever sprained their ankle before? Show of hands. I've done that several times. So this is a type of inflammation that has 4 characteristic parts: redness, heat, swelling, and pain. It's probably the type of inflammation you're very aware of and have seen in the past. But this is an external presentation, and this can happen anywhere in the body, so this can happen internally as well. A very common place for inflammation to occur is in the digestive tract. So our digestion can be irritated by many things, including foods, toxins, and stress. And if this irritation and inflammation occurs long-term, this leads to lowered nutrient absorption, and the protective barrier of the intestines is compromised as a result. So things get through the digestive barrier that shouldn't be there, and this creates immune responses in the body as a result. The immune responses and complexes can be deposited anywhere in the body. This includes organs, skin, brain, and a lot of different conditions result as because of this. So being able to prevent any toxins and any things from getting into your body that shouldn't be there is really important for these reasons. So lowering inflammation is really critical for your health overall. It's not just something to help with ankle sprains. Many nutrients are important for your body in general, things like vitamins A, C, and E. I'm sure you've probably all heard those thrown around. But there's other things like digestive enzymes such as bromelain, which are really important to help mitigate inflammation. Frankincense and turmeric are probably things or herbs you've heard about that are great as inflammatory modulators. They don't cut out inflammation altogether, but they help to decrease it when it shouldn't be there. So foods you should help emphasize to decrease inflammation include lots of dark leafy greens, but those that are more fibrous or are harder, you should actually cook them a little bit before you eat them because it helps to break down the fiber and make them much more digestible. However, that roughage or that fiber is still really important to help things move through the digestive tract. To help things be more regular with your digestion, you should be going 1 to 3 times per day in terms of your bowel movements. If you're going every other day or a couple times a week, then you definitely need to work on your digestion because toxins sit there when your stools are being formed and they should be cleared out on a regular basis. Those toxins get absorbed when your stools are sitting there, so think about that when you're trying to get in enough leafy greens. Physical activity is also very important, as most of you know. It's not something I'm going to delve into too much, but just mention try and get some sort of physical activity daily. That helps move things in the digestive tract, it helps excrete toxins, and it helps you for a lot of reasons, including your mood and your overall health. So household herbs you can use that are good for inflammation are a lot of the warming herbs. So things like nutmeg, cayenne, ginger, turmeric, garlic, and rosemary. So those you would think as warming your body are really good at getting inflammation down in the body as well. How many of you soak your nuts? And seeds before you eat them? There's an anti-herbivory enzyme in nuts, seeds, legumes, and beans called phytic acid. Phytic acid prevents you from being able to break these things down properly and creates a lot of gas in the digestive soaking or lightly roasting, all of these things can help you get out the phytic acid and can help you digest these foods a lot better. So those of you that eat beans and get gassy, you probably need to be soaking them or rinsing them really well to make sure that you're getting the phytic acid out. One thing you should really pay attention to are sugars. I know Maddie just had a presentation on this, which is great at his office. So sugars are not all bad. You do need some sugars in your diet, but the processed sugars, artificial sugars, and the sugars that we're adding to our diets make a huge impact in terms of inflammation and our health in general. So we really want to try and avoid the processed ones, things like corn syrup, sucrose, the lactose, and those things that are added to as artificial sweeteners. Alcohol is also high in sugar, for those of you that didn't know that. And generally, you want to try and avoid that. If you cut out alcohol for a short period of time, you'll actually notice a big difference in your health due to the sugar, but also some other things in there are also inflammatory. So hard liquor versus beer, there's actually a difference there in terms of how your body responds to it. Agave is also something I wanted to talk about briefly. Your body treats it like high fructose corn syrup, so it's not really a good alternative to sugars. If you do need to sweeten something, which I emphasize only in small amounts, things like maple syrup, honey, stevia, or xylitol are the ones that I favor because your body can digest them a lot more easily and they respond less and create less inflammation in the body as a result. I also use dates once in a while as a sweetener, and the fiber in those are good as well. So if you're making cookies or baking, that's something I like to use as an alternative. Many of you have probably heard dairy and gluten can be two things that are inflammatory. Just wanted to mention briefly, dairy is something that your body actually doesn't produce the enzymes to digest over the long run. So as an infant, we have breast milk, and as adults, we don't have breast milk. So as a child, we produce the enzyme, and as we get older, our body actually stops producing it or produces it less and less. So we become more sensitive to it, and it's harder for the body to break down. And gluten is genetically processed, and it's hard for our body to recognize as a food. So at Active Health and Wellness, I have an infrared camera I use to take pictures of heat patterns and inflammation in the body, as well as for thermal imaging. That I use for breast thermography. So there's some handouts there on your table about that. And the other thing I have in my office is the class 4 infrared laser. So infrared spectrum is really good at mitigating inflammation, and it is good for joints, muscles, connective tissue, nerves, and skin conditions. So for a variety of things, because it actually helps the tissues to regenerate, helps the cells to decrease things like pain, and helps to reset nerves so they're not firing when they're not supposed to. You've probably noticed that you've had electrical sensations or nerve sensations when your muscles or things are really tight, and the nerves can fire because the membrane potential has been set at a point that is much higher than it should be, so it fires more quickly. So the laser helps to reset that or bring the membrane potential down. So it fires only when it's adaptive to and when it should be signaling something. So these are a lot of different suggestions and things you can do to help decrease inflammation and disease in your body, help with energy, and stay healthy. There's a lot more things I could have mentioned here, so if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm happy to help and talk to you a little bit more about these things. And I have lots of products and things in my office as well to help mitigate inflammation. And I offer 10-minute free consultations, so please, everyone, take advantage of that. I challenge you to start reading ingredients and look at the sugar content and the things you're actually eating, and try and be much more mindful of this in your daily lives. Trying to cut out that for even a week can make a big difference in terms of how your taste receptors respond to sugar, and you'll notice things are actually much more sweet than you realized. Thanks very much. Any questions?
Cinnamon not warming as well?
Cinnamon is also another great warming herb. So.
Now you made a difference between hard liquor and beer, which is the
hard liquor is better because there's less sugar generally in it.
Yeah. Yes. What about wine?
Wine is very variable because sometimes they add sugar to it, so the drier wines versus the sweeter wines are better.
So not